What's up, everyone? That was an incredible game between Ole Miss and Georgia, a game that had everything you could want and more. Georgia obviously losing 39 and 34. But for 1 second, I think everyone out there that was not an Ole Miss fan said, you know what? If Georgia wins, I'm cool with it because that would be a top five finish in all of football. Definitely, probably the most memorable finish in a playoff game setting. Obviously, the really, special ones were like the kick six at home. That might be a different feeling, but this one, regardless of whether it's a playoff game or not, uh, whoever was home, whoever the teams were, still a top five moment in college football if Georgia would have pulled it off. But they didn't. Ole Miss won 39-34, and this game had everything you could want and more. Great offense, great defense, and even great special teams. That was probably the best unit we saw outside of that one missed field goal by Georgia's kicker in like the third quarter. But when looking at this game, the first thing I did was I walked away thinking that was excellent quarterback play from both quarterbacks, Trinidad Chambliss and Gunnar Stockton. Looking at Stockton first, Gunnar Stockton was solid. He was 18 for 31, 204 yards passing, one passing touchdown, no interceptions. He ran the ball 13 times. Sacks included only has him at like 20 yards rushing, but I know he had more than that, and two rushing touchdowns. He was a true gamer. Right, they were down 10 points, and at that point in time, down 34 to 24. I thought, yeah, it's game over. Ole Miss is going to win this game. Stockton was calm, cool, and collected. He was composed, and he led them down that huge drive to cut it down to 3 points. He got lit up on one of the plays. He got lit up throughout the game. Reality is he's just getting nuked by this ferocious Ole Miss interior and edge rush presence that they had. Pete Golden had this D line, on their P's and Q's. They were balling. But Gunnar Stockton, he looked really good. He was playing hard-nosed ball. He didn't want to lose this game. He made a beautiful back throw pass to Zachariah Branch, obviously on that one passing touchdown he had to cut the lead down to 3 points. He was running the ball up the gut. He was really mobile in the pocket. He eluded a couple sacks. He limited his sack yardage. Sometimes he even had a gain when he was getting sacked. But yeah, Gunnar Stockton played good ball. But the real story was Trinidad Chambliss and what he did. He was 30 for 46, 362 yards passing, two passing touchdowns, no interceptions, and he had a couple of yards rushing. And it's just another game of the Chambliss experience of spectacular play, right? I mean, against Arkansas, 350 yards passing, against Tulane, 300 yards passing, against LSU, 314, against Washington State, 253, against Georgia the first time around, 263, against Oklahoma, 315, against Citadel, 333, against Florida, 300, against Mississippi State, 359, and against Tulane the second time around, 282. He has 19 passing touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns on the season. In this game, he looked like an NFL player. And in this game, it told me that he is by far the best quarterback in the CFP, and he deserves to be drafted. And when you look at the draft boards, Mendoza, Dante Moore may be above him. Obviously, age could hurt Trinidad. I don't think it should. He's only 22 years old, so it's not like he's 25, like we've seen. Tyler Shuck was 26, so I don't think it should hurt him that much. But regardless, when we see this new format with the CFP, it reminds me a little bit about March Madness. And when I say that, March Madness, you had, 5 games to show your skill off, depending on how far you got. And there's players like Dante DiVincenzo, who he went from being a second round pick, maybe undrafted, to being a first round selection because of his March Madness performance. And what I think we're going to start seeing with the new CFP format of getting 4 games if you don't have the bye week, if they extend to 16 games, everyone getting 4 games because there won't be bye weeks. We're going to see opportunities for players to go out there and elevate their draft stock. And that's what Chambliss is doing. Tonight he was making NFL throws. He was looking like the best quarterback in college football, whether it was the anticipatory passes or the deep balls or the playmaking ability, the way to scramble out of scenarios and to get first downs, or rolling right, or the deep balls down the sideline. Every single level of the field. He was making the short passes, intermediate throws, and the deep throws with ease. He looked absolutely incredible. And I know Mendoza had a special year. He deserves Heisman. I'm not taking that away from him. Indiana was undefeated. He turned around this entire program. He won the Big Ten championship and beat Ohio State. He deserves it. But Chambliss right now looks like the best quarterback in college football. He really does. And against Georgia, he had special plays. Like I said, that 2 point conversion, anticipatory throw. He had that huge scramble where he ran like 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage to the back of his end zone, essentially. Not really, but into the end zone. Rolled around, made 2 defenders miss, dumped it down for about a 7 yard, true yard gain for the first down on the third down. He had some great throws down the sideline. He made some awesome throws to Caden Lee in the middle of the field. He was hitting Wallace. He hit Stribling for that huge pass to set them up into field goal range. Not sure what Georgia was doing there. Why are you running press man with a minute or with 30 seconds left when Ole Miss has to go 40 yards to get in the field goal range and they have no timeouts? Doesn't make sense to me at all, but we'll get to that later. Chambliss looked the part. He looked absolutely incredible, and he deserves to be drafted. Even if he's granted the waiver, he the way if he continues this play, he'll be drafted right now. But if he continues this play, he could go in the first 2 rounds, truly. And I could even see a team hopping in the first round to take him. The Raiders need a quarterback, the Jets need a quarterback, the Browns, depending on where they land, maybe they get a quarterback. Um, there's other teams out there that need QBs, so I would keep an eye out for Chambliss. He could definitely be someone who's taken and given it a real opportunity because those throws he was making were no joke. Were no joke. So great quarterback play from both sides. And so when looking at this game as a whole, the first quarter was really a feel it out quarter for both teams, right? Ole Miss walked away with a 6-0 lead after the first quarter, but they were settling for field goals and Georgia had nothing going. They looked terrible on offense. They looked really bad. But what they were trying to do, both sides, to me, it looked like they were trying to establish the short game, right? Running the ball and getting the ball out quick to eventually set up those deep passes that we saw all throughout the second half. But Georgia looked dead to rights in the first quarter. They had nothing going. They had a three and out, and then they had 6 plays on the first possession, and then they had the three and out on their second possession. But then on the third possession, it looked like momentum swung. I wouldn't say even swung. Ole Miss walked into the second quarter up 6-0, but it felt like anyone's game. It felt like both teams were still playing slow. Georgia went out there, 75 yards, 63 yards from that first drive were rushing. Nate Frazier was a dog. Gunnar Stockton was a dog. Um, and Georgia went out there. They took the lead 7-6. And at that point, I said, looks like Georgia's kind of sticking with the formula of how to win these playoff games. If you look at the quarterfinal games, what did every team do that won? They established the run and they dominated the run. You saw Indiana today with Black and Hemby kill it in the run game. You saw it with Oregon. What do they do in the first half? They established the run. Even when it wasn't working, they were trying to just do it enough times to make Texas Tech think, "Hey, we gotta try and eliminate this, right?" And then the Ohio State Miami game. Mark Fletcher, dog, beast. I mean, smart runner, really talented, and he went out there. What did they do? They established a run. They won the game that way. And so Georgia, when they did that, I thought, yeah, they're gonna win the game. Or they may not. The momentum swung. I was like, they're establishing their game plan. And then you saw Ole Miss go out there. They scored a touchdown to go up 12-7, and then they went for two, and they didn't get it. And it was like momentum's still in Georgia's hands now because what are you doing there, Pete Golding? What is happening? Georgia went on to score another touchdown to go up 14-12. Gunnar Stockton hanging in the pocket, getting an absolute freaking just nuked. And he got that pass out of Cash Jones for 30-yard gain, helped continue on to go out there and have that 1 yard run for the touchdown by Gunnar Stockton, take the lead 14-12. Then the fumble happened, and it was a scoop and score. Georgia was up 21-12 during halftime. And it was, yeah, Georgia's looking like they're going to win. Ole Miss is not playing good football. It wasn't, like Ole Miss was playing bad defensively, right? They only gave up 14 points against a good Georgia offense, but they were just making weird mistakes and they couldn't stop Georgia on crucial downs. And it was like if they can't stop them on the crucial downs, like 3rd and 10, Georgia's going to get in a flow state and Ole Miss is never going to stop them. But credit to Ole Miss, they adjusted. Credit to Georgia for that first half performance because it was 3rd and 10, first down, 3rd and 8, first down, 3rd and 14, first down, 3rd and 7, first down. They just kept getting first downs on these third and long, distances. Ole Miss, they stuck to their game plan. Their D tackles were freaking amazing, and they shut down Georgia pretty well in the second half. And they went out there and they stuck with their game plan. And Ole Miss, they went for it with that weird, wildcat. Like I don't know why you're doing a wildcat on a fourth and to go situation. I'm not a fan of that. Give it to your best player. keep it in his hands. Chambliss, whether he hands it off, or passes it, or scrambles, whatever. Just let him touch the ball. Let him touch the ball. And they obviously did not end up getting it. Georgia missed the field goal. Then Ole Miss scored the touchdown to make it 21 to 19. It was momentum back in Ole Miss's favor. And then you saw Georgia get the ball, and they ended up obviously having a punt, right? And it was like, yeah, momentum's building again for Ole Miss. But hold up, Georgia, you know what they did? They went out there and they went for it in 4th and 5, fake punt to Lawson Lucky, and then they settled for the field goal. And they only got up 24 to 19. And right there, that was the first big stop of Ole Miss. First big stop they had on a crucial down, third down and fourth down. First big stop of the game. Held them to a field goal, 24 to 19, still only one score game. And it was okay. Ole Miss is gonna start rolling now. Like they have a little momentum going, and they wanted that big 75-yard down, 75 8-play drive to take the lead 27 to 24, and then they forced a fumble. I don't know why Georgia went for it on 4th and 2. I think it was yeah, 4th and 2 on their own 33. They went for it. No idea why they would do that. That was absolutely ridiculous for Georgia to do. It was a fumble, but it didn't matter. It was if he held on the ball, obviously it was going to be a turnover on downs. Left tackle tried to double team. This is why I'm giving huge credit to the D tackles. They controlled this game. Ole Miss's D tackles controlled this game. It was Eccles and Harris. They controlled this game in the interior because you saw on that fourth down, right? Georgia's offensive line was so concerned and worried about these guys getting down fast and stopping Stockton. They double teamed both of them. The left tackle had a mental blip in the radar, and the edge rusher came coming down free and hit Gunner in the blind side. Blind side hit, forced a fumble, forced a turnover. Georgia or not Georgia, Ole Miss took 2 plays to go down, take the lead 34 to 24. Chambliss had that pass to right, and then he had the other pass to Wallace to take the lead 34 to 24. And they went up by 10 points, and it felt like it was Ole Miss's game, right? They had all the momentum. They just got to stop. They forced a field goal. They scored a touchdown. They got the stop on 4th and 2. Then they scored another touchdown. Huge momentum shift. It was rainbows and butterflies for Ole Miss. But then what did I say earlier? Gunnar Stockton's a gamer. Dude was balling. He's from Georgia. He's not gonna let this team go down without a fight. And he didn't. He went out there, 6-play drive, 75 yards, scored a touchdown. He had a couple big time throws, and he hit, held him down for a 20-yard pass. And he had that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful back shoulder pass to Zachariah Branch, 18-yard pass for the touchdown, back left of the end zone, or sorry, front left of the end zone, near the pylon, back shoulder throw. Branch came down with it, and it was okay. Man, Georgia just cut it down to a one-score game. They're more talented than Ole Miss, right? They have a really physical defense, Georgia. Their offense is, their run game's not there, but Gunnar Stockton's, he's flowing. What do you got for us, Georgia? And they went and they had a amazing drive to almost felt like cap off the game. But what did they do wrong? They couldn't convert in the red zone. And you saw Ole Miss was having a lot of frustration against Georgia. They got called for 2 pass interference calls on that drive in which Georgia scored the field goal to tie at 34. It was, yeah, Georgia's going to win this game because Nate Frazier, 11-yard run. Then you saw 16-yard pass to Zachariah Branch on 4th and 9. Then you saw the 11-yard pass to Zachariah Branch on a 2nd and 20. And there was a 15-yard penalty for pass interference. And it was, okay, Georgia's at the 20-yard line of Ole Miss with like 5 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go, something like that. Sorry, I'm all over the place. 2 minutes ago. Sorry, 2 minutes ago. They had Ole Miss's 20-yard line with 2 minutes to go, and it was okay. 9-yard penalty, pass interference. Great pass interference by Ole Miss because it would have been a touchdown. But yeah, it was like they're on their heels. Ole Miss is on their heels. They're on their heels. Georgia's is coming. They're coming. It's Georgia football. They're gonna win. They're gonna win. And this is what I'm talking about. Harris and Eccles. They control the line of scrimmage. First, second, and third goal. Georgia couldn't score. They couldn't do it. They had Gunnar Stockton come down 1st and goal on the 8-yard line, 5-yard rush. Great timeout by Pete Golding because, like I said, Ole Miss's defense they were on their heels. I thought they should have called it once they got to that 1st and goal situation. But they held it. Great timeout. Golding reset things, gave this defense a much needed breather because they were out on the field for a long time. these past couple drives they mounted, right? Ole Miss had that quick turnaround. Georgia got the ball back, and it was, 6 to 9 plays. Both these defenses were gassed, but when you have to get back on the field that early, that fast, I mean, that wears you out. You saw Harris having to deal with, I'm guessing, cramps because he kept coming back into the game. But then they hand the ball off to Chauncey Bowens, the running back, on the second goal at the 3 yard line, and he got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. And then you saw Gunnar Stockton throw the incompletion to Oscar Delp, and Georgia settled for the field goal to tie it up at 34-34. And it was, wow, Ole Miss, this may go to overtime. This is going to go to overtime, and they hung in there and they stopped this train of Georgia's offense. But then what did you see from Ole Miss? You saw Trinidad Chambliss go out there and make a big time play in a big time moment when it really counted, and that was a 40-yard pass to Stripling. Don't know what Georgia was doing there. There's 35 seconds left in the game. Let me get the exact second. 26 seconds left in the game. 26 seconds left in the game. Ole Miss is at their own 30-yard line, so they have to go about, let's do the math here. We'll say 30 yards to get to the 40-yard line of Georgia. They have to go 30 yards to get into field goal range. It's 3rd and 5. You don't run press man. You give a cushion. Ole Miss has no timeouts, and they have 26 seconds left. What you do is you play off coverage. If they get the first down, they get the first down. Who cares? 10 seconds, 15 seconds will probably run because of that play. Get to the line of scrimmage, get things set. You have one more play to get into field goal range. 15 yards off of that play. That's going to be tough to do, but they ran press man on Stripling. Stripling ran right by the corner. It was single high safety. He was butt naked. Stripling was, caught the 40-yard pass. Couple incompletions later, and then Ole Miss kicked the field goal to take the lead 37-34. Then we saw that completely wonky end of the game scenario where is Georgia going to go out there and are they going to actually pull this off? And they didn't. Great win for Ole Miss, winning 39-34 over Georgia. But my biggest takeaway from this game was Trinidad Chambliss is an NFL quarterback. He should be drafted. He will be drafted. And this might be our first um, example of more examples to come, but our first true example of what having a CFP actually does. When you have 4 games to really be on the national stage and show yourself off to all the fans, to all the media, to all the scouts, and the big time moments, right? These are big games, right? If you can show up in these games, that's the other thing. If you can show up in these games, it gives you another edge. It's winning this game in the playoff scenario is more impressive than winning this game in the regular season. Both are incredible A+ wins, but this is an A++ win. And having this type of performance for Chambliss, I think this is the first example of how important it is to have these for just pure draft stock reasons. You can really elevate yourself on draft boards in this elongated playoff format. My second big takeaway was that Ole Miss, their defense adjustments in the second half were incredible because it went from they're going to be ran out of this place because yes, they only give it 14 points in the first half, but they cannot get a stop on third down. And eventually, Georgia's can get things rolling offensively. And if you can't get a stop on third down, you're not going to get off the field. It's not going to happen. Credit to Ole Miss. They made adjustments. Their defense tackles, Eccles and Harris, should be the MVPs of the defense. They deserve it. Incredible. My third biggest takeaway from this game was that Gunnar Stockton, gamer, great player. He kept Georgia in it. He kept them hanging around. Georgia's physical, but man, they need some wide receivers, and this has been true as the grass being green. It's been like this for the past couple of seasons. Zachariah Branch was a nice addition, but they need someone out there because once they lost Bowers and McConkey, obviously hard to replace. But when they lost them, just felt like they haven't gotten the right guys in there. Um, but nonetheless, great performance that we saw from this team. And my fourth and my biggest takeaway from this game, when it comes to just pure execution and how it was won, was when Ole Miss got that stop to hold Georgia to a field goal to only allow Georgia to go up 24-19 rather than possibly 28-19 and to keep it at a one-score game. That's when everything swung in favor of Ole Miss and they went on to win. This Ole Miss team is legit, and they have a big date against Miami in a game that's going to be really fun with some great storylines. Ole Miss has a real chance of going out there and winning this. They really do. Right now, early thoughts, I'm going with Miami to beat Ole Miss, but this is a legit program. Trinidad Chambliss is the truth. Let me know what you guys think. This is my instant reaction. We'll talk about it later on. Maybe do some film breakdown with Chambliss and his performance tonight. But thank you guys so much for liking or so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a blessed night.